In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the PRS McCarty 594 series. This is the product of PRS trying to make a more vintage-inspired instrument. It was made in collaboration with Ted McCarty, who used to be the CEO of Gibson. McCarty was responsible for some of Gibson's greatest designs like the Flying V, the Explorer and the Moderne. So when PRS met up with Ted McCarty, this is what they created, the PRS McCarty 594 in single cut and double cut. Well, in today's episode, we're going to be comparing the two McCarty 594 models to see which one is best. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Hello guys, welcome back to Squealing Pig Guitars, the home of luxury drum machines here in Nottingham, England. My name is Ben Keightley, and today we're going to be doing a battle of the double cut versus single cut PRS McCarty 594 edition. These guitars are inspired by the Gibson Les Paul. There's no secret in that. It's a 22 fret guitar which has a vintage inspired neck carve and pickup set. This was basically PRS trying to reinvent the Les Paul for the vintage lover. Obviously at the time, PRS were famous for their custom 24 models and more sporty kind of guitar models made more for the modern player. So they wanted to reach out to that vintage market and try and pull them in with the PRS McCarty. Obviously collaborating with Ted McCarty was a great idea for this, as he was responsible for a lot of Gibson designs as well as being the CEO of the company at one point. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video and have a look at the double cut first. So here is the McCarty 594 in double cut format. I have to admit that I do prefer the double cuts of these McCarty 594s, but they are my favourite PRS guitar, mainly for the feel. So the special thing about this one is it's a wood library version, so you have a carina body and a carina neck. And carina is a very special wood, especially in Gibson heritage, as it's very scarcely used. But in fact, carina is actually quite a cheap wood to come by. It's just that Gibson seem to kind of use it only exclusively for their reissue models. It's a very light wood and has a similar tonal characteristic to mahogany. It obviously has this really nice grain as well, so this has a natural finish, and you can see there it goes all the way onto the neck. This has a custom finish. This is burgundy metallic. Far away it might just look like a black ebony finish, but as you bring it closer, it has a little bit of a sparkle and a slight flip-flop nature. As you get it in the light, it goes slightly more red. The way I've described this is it looks a little bit like a Coca-Cola can. So it's quite red in areas, but then it goes quite dark, has that nice kind of sparkle finish as well. As we bring it closer, you can see kind of where the DNA of a Les Paul comes in, with the switch being up here, the four controls, the kind of stop tail piece and bridge situation. In terms of pickups, we have the 5815 LT bass and treble pickups. These are obviously trying to replicate a PAF tone. Of course, because you have coil splits on this, it makes it extra versatile, which is obviously great for being a PRS. We have the brass saddles on this nice PRS adjustable bridge, and you just bring the strings in here. We have brass accents over all this guitar, so over the switch, the strap buttons, and you have the main body of the hardware as chrome. I do like these brushed steel pickup covers as well, they look very stylish indeed. Moving on, we have the pattern neck carve, which is PRS's vintage profile. I'd say it still feels very thin in comparison to a Gibson Les Paul neck. This has kind of a feeling of maybe like an RO. It's quite rounded, but it's still very slim. We have a rosewood fingerboard on this one with 22 frets. I like the way that these frets feel on this one, whereas this guitar has a lot slimmer frets, a lot flatter frets, which I'm not as big of a fan of. We also have some really cool inlays on this one. It's got abalone surrounded by mother of pearl, so I'll get that nice and close so you can see. But these are really special. If you're going to get a PRS guitar, I'd always recommend going for abalone inlays, as they just do look so stunning, and this really adds to this guitar. As we move down to the edge, we have the rosewood headstock cap with the McCarty 594 truss rod cover, and you can also see the gold accents. These are PRS's vintage style tuners, obviously going after the kind of Clouson look. So as I mentioned, I obviously prefer the double cut, but let's have a quick look at the single cut and see what we get different on that model. So both of these guitars have a maple top. This one has a nice flamed, kind of tiger stripe flamed maple with the tobacco burst. We have a mahogany back on this one, which is the usual spec for a McCarty 594 paired with a mahogany neck. But other than that, pretty much the specs are identical. So you have the 5815 pickups. These ones are clean chrome, but you still have the brass kind of saddles. Three-way switch here, 2 volumes, 2 tones. These have the ambered style knobs. The only thing different for this one is that you have reveal binding, so you can see the flamed maple, and you have a cream binding on the side. The main difference here is that you have different tuners on this one. These have the phase-free locking tuners, and they have the gold buttons. And as you can see there on the front of the headstock, looks a little bit different with them gold tuners. As we work our way down, we have slightly less ornate birds. These are just the mother of pearl birds, but we still have them gold strap buttons and the same specs. So the main difference between these two guitars is obviously just the body style. You've got a single cut here and you've got a double cut here. So this one's going to be a little bit more slinky to play. It's going to be a little bit more kind of sporty, whereas this one is like a classic Les Paul shape. I find that the single cuts are really good for metal and the double cuts are really good for blues from my experience. But I'll let you be the judge of that. Let's go to the tone demonstration and hear both of these guitars in action. So welcome to the tone demo. For today's episode, obviously we're going to be doing both of these McCartys. We're going to be starting off on the double cut for the clean sounds, and I'll switch to the single cut for the dirty tones. As always, I'm using my Kemper Profiler. I'm using an AC30 preset with the usual effects that I use. So here's the tone that I was using at the start of today's episode. It was a cover of Mateus Sato's Breakup song. I've got a little bit of reverb on, a little bit of an EQ, and it's just the neck pickup humbucker mode. So very dynamic. It's kind of on the edge of breakup if you were to hit in a little bit harder. Get a little bit of gain there. But if we roll down the volume and the tone, we get a really nice warm kind of jazzed tone. Now let's hear that same pickup but on coil split mode. Cool, nice glassy tone there. Let's hear the middle position. This is in humbucker mode. Now both coil split. tones on this guitar. The single coil tones are a little bit anemic sounding. You probably need to adjust your amp to make them sound a little bit more bass heavy. But now that we've heard the clean tones, let's switch over to the single cut. So now I've changed to the single cut for the distortion tones. I'm running a fairly similar amp preset. I've just got more gain going into the amp. I'd say this guitar always reminds me of the Tremonti models, but this one definitely is more vintage voice. Obviously, it's trying to replicate that kind of 59 Les Paul. It's got quite a snappy sound to it, probably not the best for metal, but if you were to kind of strip it back a bit and play some blues, it would sound great. Now we're back on the double cut, let's do a loop to end the episode. So guys, we're coming to the end of the video. I hope you've really enjoyed looking at these PRS McCarty 594s. I love the PRS McCarty 594. I think a lot of it's down to the scale length. That vintage scale length just feels amazing. And obviously it has that Gibson DNA. So I'm a big Gibson fan, so I love that. But before I get into my personal review of these two guitars, make sure to go down on this video and leave a like and comment your thoughts down below. This really helps us increase engagement on these videos and get bigger and better guitars on the channel. Also, if you're new to this channel, make sure to hit subscribe and hit the notification bell. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers. At the time of filming, we're only 30 subscribers away, so we'd really appreciate you guys subscribing and getting us to that milestone. But what is my personal review? So, I love the PRS McCarty 594 model. As I mentioned in the tone demo, I much prefer the double cut feel. For me, the double cut is perfect. It has its own niche. It feels different to a Les Paul, but it has that great kind of vintage spec that I love from a Les Paul. For me, I'd always go for the double cut over the single cut. That being said, these two guitars played very differently, even though they had majority the same spec. The frets on the single cut felt a lot flatter, a lot more narrow, whereas the double cut felt a lot more like medium jumbo. So I'd say the single cut was more kind of R9 type spec, whereas the double cut was more of a modern PRS feel. It was a little bit easier to bend on the double cut because of the thicker frets. But other than that, obviously the pickup tones were very similar. I really enjoyed playing the clean tones on the double cut. I found the single cut to be a little bit too snappy for distortion. It's definitely more catered to vintage style music like blues and country. Definitely not a metal guitar, even though I was trying to push it to do that. So yeah, more of a blues guitar for sure. But for me, the winner is the double cut here. I love the carina back, and the burgundy metallic finish is just beautiful. But most importantly, guys, let me know in the comment section below, are you team double cut or team single cut? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you own any PRS McCarty guitars, let me know in the comment section below as well. I'd say I'd give the double cut a 7 out of 10, and I'd give the single cut a 5 out of 10. I didn't enjoy playing the single cut as much as I thought. I much prefer the double cut for today's episode. But that's it for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. As I said, make sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps this channel get seen by more people, which we obviously appreciate very much. But I hope you're enjoying this daily content here on Squealing Pig Guitars. But I'll catch you tomorrow for another episode. But until then, keep rocking, guys. I'll see you soon.